Hello, everybody. Welcome into the NBA Front Office Show. We've been going live each evening, sometimes in the morning when we have to, if there's enough news, but going live each evening to break down the latest on the NBA free agency market. And today we've got a few things to get into. I've got some theories on what's going on the market right now. Joining me, as always, is Keith Smith. I'm Trevor Lane. Keith, you snuck out. You went out for dinner. And you survived to tell the tale. The worst damage that you took was a Kyle Anderson sign and trade. Did you feel like you were playing a little bit of Marco Polo and you managed to get out of the water and get back in before you got caught?
Oh man, fish out of water. That's
out of water.
You're Marco Polo next, man. What a weird game that was. Nostalgia
Right?
night. I don't know if you saw my tweet. I saw this thing and it was said when you crank a wiffle ball homer over the neighbor's house.
Yes.
And you crack open one of these mystery drinks in a barrel and drink it.
The little plastic one.
Yes.
And it's like there's no nutritional content on it, but it's 99% sugar and then 1% unidentified, and it's delicious.
Yeah. There weren't flavors. They were just the colors, at least where I grew up. It was the red one or the pink one or the green one. Like, give me a purple drink. Like, not purple drank. It's not that here. We're not going to get all crunk on the front office show after dark.
What kind of food did you have?
We just went out and grabbed, we went to Outback.
Okay.
Nothing fancy, but
Awesome Blossom.
No,
sorry. I'm sorry. I mixed up my onion-based fried food. It's the Bloomin' Onion at Outback. Yeah, extra awesome.
I was just watching The Office before we started.
That was a good one.
Yeah, because there's nothing going on. So I was watching TV.
So here's my theory on what's going on. I think given the new reality, as Rob Pelinka described it, I believe he used the term apron world, which sounds like a very boring theme park. But now that we're living in this world of the aprons and all that kind of stuff, what I think has happened is that now you've gotten the few dominoes, the initial dominoes, those have gone largely in free agency. Now teams that are trying to make trades and things like that, they're kind of settling in, but they're a little bit cautious. They're dipping the toe in the water because they don't know what the temperature is, because we haven't done this before. We haven't lived in this world yet. It's like you're going over to the neighbor's pool and you don't just jump in. You don't just do a cannonball right away. You've got to test the temperature because you don't know what they set it at. That's the world that NBA GMs are living in right now because they're not sure about this new reality, this apron world, apron land, whatever we want to call it, that we're now existing in.
Yeah. Do you think like apron world, like if you came in and didn't buy the right ticket, like they put a hard hat on you, you can walk like right up to the rides, but you can't ride them. Like you have to just watch everybody else have fun, like getting on the rides and stuff. Like that. Is that how apron world would work?
Probably. And then something goes horribly wrong and the aprons get out and they run wild and, chaos ensues because aprons find a way.
That is true. Nice. Well done. Well done. It is a little weird right now. I think I wrote about this on Spot Track earlier today. I kind of went through like the 10 big decisions, and it's funny because I wrote it, and even when I sent it in to be published, I said to our editor there, I was like, I kind of hope this is all like shot out of the water here in the next 15, 20 minutes. And that was hours ago, and all of it is true. Like all of it is still there, that I am in a spot where it's like DeMar DeRozan and the Bulls. But the one I think that's kind of key in everything right now, I think it's kind of the Utah Jazz.
Yeah.
I think they've got control over quite a bit of what's happening around the NBA because of their ability to talk trades, their ability to go through a whole bunch of stuff with players that they can trade, players they maybe can acquire, draft picks. Like there's just a million different directions and nobody really knows where they're going. And I guarantee you, Danny Ainge is absolutely having a blast with that part of it right now.
he's like Kevin Malone, where he gets the attention of everybody in the office. He starts giving his speech. He has no idea where it's going, and halfway through, he just kind of stops and basks in the glory and says, "Everyone is looking at me." That's Danny Ainge right now. He knows everybody's calling about Lowry Markkanen. Everybody's calling about Walker Kessler. Maybe some people are calling about Colin Sexton. Probably there's like one or two that have had a tough time that are calling about Jordan Clarkson, and he's enjoying the spotlight right now, I think.
Yeah, I'm with you. Yeah, Markkanen, Clarkson, Walker Kessler, maybe our guy John Collins, right? Like that's our guy. So yeah. Let's see. Let's see what happens.
Okay, so I mean, when I look at the list here, we're going to get into some of our chat questions in just a moment. But here's the list of what's happened so far. I'll be honest, Keith, there was nothing today that made me like sit up and take notice, aside from maybe the Kyle Anderson trade. Was there is there something I'm forgetting that happened today that was
extension.
What was yes
that happened this morning.
That's big. Yes, I think that was just so we hit a point where we were expecting that, to where when it came through, I just went, oh yeah, didn't that already happen?
I think the one difference was that it was only 3 years. He didn't do the full 4 years. And as was noted in the reporting on it, he did the 3 years with the idea of get back onto the market when he hits 10 years of service, and he can hit the 35% of the cap maximum. So that is where it kind of is right now. And that's where it goes. So that's that was the only kind of notable part of it, beyond the fact that like he did it, he signed the extension, he's not leaving the Cavs anytime soon. So I think that was the one part where a couple people were still holding out hope. It's funny, you say anything on social media, and if it's wrong, it's coming back around to you tenfold, or if not 100 or 1,000-fold.
Yes.
And there was this one Heat account that was like, I have inside sources. The Heat are going to trade for Donovan Mitchell tomorrow and all this stuff. And man, it was like 29 fan bases unite, plus every casual fan that doesn't really have a team was like, let's just destroy this account so much that they had to that they went private for a while today.
I mean, that's the world we live in. Everybody is looking to dunk on somebody else, and that's all they're trying to do.
But if you're gonna pretend you have sources, you deserve every
you better be right
on you get. Yep.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you better be right. So this, and the other thing is, there was no, at least no publicly, no Darius Garland trade request. Now, maybe it still is coming. Maybe it already happened via just back channels, or it was something they kept quiet. But now that's going to be the next question. Are the Cavs really going to navigate this with Donovan Mitchell and Darius Garland? Are they going to tell Garland, sorry, we don't care if you want traded. You're part of the core of this team and you're staying put?
Yeah, it really died down almost as quick as it came up. Then it just kind of went away. So I don't know. We'll see. It's something, if he is going to get traded, you want, or if he wants to be traded, let me rephrase that. You want that to come now so you can start working on it. You don't want it to come like July 20th or in August
when roster spots are filled.
What is happening? So, I think that's a I don't know. That one just kind of went away, like almost as quick as it came. I wonder if Garland maybe looked around and was like, actually, you know what? It's not so bad here. Let's try to figure it out. We've got a new coach in Kenny Atkinson. I'm going to put some faith in him that he's got some new ideas to kind of refresh our offense a little bit and get us moving in a better direction. So we'll see. All
right. I like that you saved this one. The loading screen reminds me of The Office. There's a reason for that.
There is.
It is supposed to be The Office. It is the loading screen. Let's talk a little bit about the Kyle Anderson deal.
Yeah.
So a 3-year deal via sign and trade has to be at least a 3-year deal. Because it's a sign and trade, $27 million to Kyle Anderson. You had some stuff going to Minnesota in this. What was it? A couple of second-round picks that all find their way to Minnesota. So, I mean, this is why the Warriors wanted no salaries back, so that they could use that exception to go out and land somebody via sign and trade, which is what they've done now with Kyle Anderson. Let's start with the Warriors. Have they kind of quietly bounced back from the Clay thing?
Yeah, I think so. I think what you've seen is the Warriors are retooling on the fly. Their depth. They lost Clay and Chris Paul. De'Anthony Melton, if healthy, should be a pretty good replacement for Chris Paul. He's made at this point. They're honestly they're probably about equal level. Considering Melton has more positional versatility because he
Mm-hmm.
can play the 2 guard and he can play with Steph, where Chris Paul and Steph they didn't get enough time together to really fully figure it out. So it was never quite there. And then Kyle Anderson is coming in, and that they needed like a forward off the bench, especially if they're going to commit to playing Draymond at the 5 and coming in the starting group. They needed another forward to kind of come in and give them just what, because it's not Kevon Looney, right? You need one more forward with a little bit of size, and that's Kyle Anderson for them. I wrote when I wrote up the quick hit analysis on it. I wrote he should fit in really well in the Warriors pass and move offense, right? Like he's just a really nice passer. He really does a good job with that stuff.
Yeah, and so he's a pretty easy guy to fit in a lot of places, but I do like him coming in as an addition to the Warriors, and they are, rumored to be pursuing Lauri Markkanen. I'd imagine it's got to be something around Jonathan Kuminga. You never know, but
Andrew Wiggins probably
Andrew Wiggins maybe. But then what are the Jazz?
Yeah.
Do they want Andrew Wiggins?
I don't know what the
Maybe.
Jazz want.
Right.
I honestly I don't know what they're doing. Like I'm like people in the league are like, we don't really know. They're like, because I had one person tell me they called them and that they were like, hey, are you interested in this guy? And the Jazz, by the end of the conversation, it was like we had called them asking about their players. And like we were trying to move a guy and they were like, hey, you want our guys instead? And it was a weird conversation, but I think the Jazz are just right now. What may end up happening is we could see like a set of Jazz moves where like that's weird, and then the next one comes in, we're like now it's weirder because I think they're just kind of moving pieces around and gonna figure things out a little bit here around marketing for now. But if I know truly, if Danny Ainge finds the right deal for Lauri Markkanen, see you later, Lauri Markkanen. He's not even going to hesitate to trade him.
It's almost as though they have a set value prescribed to every player on their roster and everybody around the NBA that they might be interested in. And they're going to check around. And if there's a player they can buy and the price is cheaper than what their value says, they'll buy. And if they get an offer that's higher than what their value is for their own guy, they'll sell. And that's just kind of what they're looking to do. They're looking to trade the paperclip and ultimately walk away with the sports car or whatever that is.
It was a house, right?
A house, whatever.
Yeah. Yep. Hey, I'm just gonna say this real quick in the chat. Tony, I will consider answering your question if you stop spamming the chat and stop typing everything in all caps. Let's be a grown-up, and then I'll consider answering your question about the Celtics.
Oh man. Just telling you, he's very excited about this question. That's all.
He's yelling. He's angry. Yeah, he's mad.
He's angry.
He's like my dad on his hometown Facebook page when they don't pick up the trash on time because he has nothing else to get mad about.
Yell about the trash collection.
I don't know. I don't think he actually does that anymore. He used to get angry.
Who are we keeping an eye on? Because really, was there anything else that I'm thinking that I'm missing that aside from Kyle Anderson and then I guess we did get we got Xavier Tillman. Why don't we talk about that?
Yep. Yeah, Xavier Tillman re-signed with Boston. Boston's running it back. They will bring back at least 13 of their 15 players. The only 2 free agents that they have that aren't returning to the team are Svi Mikhailuk and O'Shea Brissett. And O'Shea Brissett basically has said, hey, I want to see what else is out there. If I can find a spot where I can play more, I'll consider it. If not, I'm going to come back to Boston too. And then we'll see what happens with Mikhailuk. I think Mikhailuk may ultimately head overseas. He had big overseas offers, but really wanted to stay in the NBA. So I know that was one of your guys back in the day. Man, Woj is watching our show and checking in here.
That's what it is. Woj is about to take a little nap here.
Woj, you could pay a super chat to break news if you want.
No, Woj just took a nap. He's asleep.
Oh man. Bye, Woj. See you later. Thanks for hanging out. Fake Woj. So with the Celtics Like they wanted to keep their three big men, Cornette, Cada, and Tillman, because Porzingis is going to miss until sometime probably around Christmas or the first of the year.
Mhm.
Al Horford's going to be aggressively load managed throughout the course of the season. And they have a comfort level with those three guys. No one is saying those guys are all-star level guys or even close to replacement, but they execute in this scheme the way they want. They stay ready. Like Cornette's one of those guys who you kind of like having on your bench because he can go weeks without playing. And then it's, hey, we need you tonight. And he's going to come in and do okay. He's not going to blow you away. He's not going to probably win you the game, but he's going to come in. He's going to grab a few rebounds, have a couple dunks, maybe block a shot, and then go back to not playing for games on end. So, and Tillman had a couple moments, especially in the playoffs. He joined Boston injured, and then unfortunately, right as he was starting to get momentum towards the end of the year, his father passed away, and he missed some time because of that. And it just ended up in like a weird spot for him but in the finals, he hit that big 3-pointer in the one game where the team, went bananas and went crazy, and it was huge. And that's what the Celtics are going to be working with him all summer is Al Horford spaces to the corners, space to the corner, and let's try to get to a spot where you can knock those down. If he can, then for him for 2 years on the minimum, that's a steal.
For sure.
Anytime you get production for a guy on the minimum, that becomes a steal of a contract.
He's just one of those hard work guys that's going to step in at a minute's notice and can give you a night on a random Wednesday in January. He's going to win you a game because he's going to make a few hustle plays when everybody else is exhausted. He is, those Bertolli meals that you can get at the grocery store?
Yeah.
Like that sit in the frozen section and you get it and it sits in your freezer. And then one night, like a month later after you bought it, you're too tired to make dinner and you just throw one of those things in a skillet and you heat it up and then you eat it and it's just fine. And then you get another one and it's going to sit there for a month again until you have one of those days. That's the Xavier Tillman of the NBA. And it's an important thing. By no means am I trying to disparage Xavier Tillman. It plays a very important role in your life. And that's what Xavier Tillman is for the Celtics right now.
Yeah. You just need stay ready guys at the end of your bench. And they have their project in Baylor Shireman that they drafted. We got Jordan Walsh that they drafted last year. So they're going to kind of stick in there. There were a few other deals though, too. Let's go to the Magic. You want to do there? They brought back Mo Wagner.
Yeah. That's right. We do need to talk about
running it back, right? Mo Wagner's back. Goga Bitadze is back. They're bringing everybody back, except as of right now, they kind of replaced Markelle Fultz with Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, which I love Markelle Fultz. I love that he fought his way back to the NBA, but that's a major upgrade for the Orlando Magic. Sure. And then with their leftover cap space, it's weird because we don't know where Isaac's number is going to go to yet, but we have a fairly good idea what they did with him. They renegotiated and extended Isaac's deal. So what's going to happen in a renegotiation extension? This is the only time people always ask, can you give a player $40 million in year one and then $10 million in year two? You can't accept in a place like this with a renegotiation extension. So what the Magic did with cap space left, they're going to bring Isaac's $17.4 million for this year. They're going to bring that number way up to a much larger number, probably somewhere in the 20s is my guess, maybe even up to 30, because they should have probably had around 13, 14 million left potentially of cap space. So they're going to bring him up to that number, and then they are going to add years on. But from what they bring his number up to for this year, next year, they can decrease his salary by as much as 40%. So that will come down, a huge amount there. And what they do is basically he gets the same kind of money, like he signed a long-term extension, but he gets most of it this year when the Magic were like, we don't really need it because we're not using any more of our cap space. Let's give it to him. And what's really important for Orlando is in the future years, they're going to have Wagner, Banchero, and Suggs all on rookie scale extensions. They're going to be expensive. Now they'll have Jonathan Isaac on a much lower number. And that's huge. I mean, great work by their front office this offseason, I feel like.
Yeah, that's fantastic. Now the Mo Wagner deal, we'd been predicting for a while that it would come in right around the $8 million valuation, so it'd be replacing his prior salary, and that would probably be the room exception. That's not what happened here. $11 million average annual value for Mo Wagner. What does this mean for Orlando? And does this tell you something about how they feel about Wendell Carter, given the amount of money we talked about the other day, about how much they committed to Goga, and now them committing more than we thought they would have to Mo Wagner? What does this mean for Wendell Carter?
Wagner specifically, I bet you we find out that second year is either non-guaranteed or another team option. So really, it's like a 1 year, $11 million deal. That's just my gut telling me that, because that's what the Magic like to do. So we'll kind of go forward with that. But I think with Mo and Batadze and Carter, I think they would be open to moving Carter if the right deal came along. But I think they're in a position with those two guys where right now that's their depth. But I do think if they found the right deal, they feel pretty good with Batadze stepping in as a starter and Mo just playing that, high minute, high usage backup role that they love, where he can come in and play with a ton of energy, run around, antagonize people. But he also finished really well. He's become a much improved passer over the last couple of years. So yeah, I'm really excited. For them to have locked in, these guys. Like I said, it's basically the same team, but you switched out Markelle Fultz for Kentavious Caldwell-Pope, which is solid. That's huge.
Yep. All right. So now we look at who's left.
We had a couple more.
Who do we have?
James Wiseman to the Pacers.
That's why I didn't remember it. It was Oh, okay. So Keith, there's a little PSA here that I wanted to do. I'm glad you mentioned that. So James Wiseman, the reporting on it, the tweet came out from Woj. James Wiseman has signed a 2-year contract with the Pacers. I'm paraphrasing, but he didn't list the dollar amount. So what that typically means for everybody who's listening and watching, not all the time, but what it usually means is it's a minimum contract. Typically, if it's more than that, like the Drew Eubanks deal, 2 years, $10 million, because the agent's going to want the dollar amount to come out in that situation. They're going to want you to know, like, hey, this guy's been a veteran minimum guy. I got him $10 million. Woj, make sure you tweet out my name too. When it's a veteran minimum contract, it's going to be hush hush. No, it's just it's a 2-year deal, and they're not going to highlight that it's a minimum. So typically, when you see the dollar amount or the on the contract is not included, that's usually a pretty clear sign that it's a minimum deal.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep, that's exactly it. And whenever you sign a player for the minimum, how it works is it has to be a 1 or a 2-year deal if you're using the minimum exception. If it is a 1-year deal, so on the screen here, great example here. Let's look at like Eric Gordon at the top here, $3.3 million. That's what he's going to actually get paid, because that is the 10 plus years of service minimum amount. But what Gordon will hit the cap at is just about 2.1 million, because the league subsidizes the remainder of that like 1.2 million. So for example, Luke Cornett, a little further down, he's got 7 years of service. He'll get paid 2.8 million, but he will hit the cap at 2.1 million. Can you scroll up to Tillman? He should just be a little bit higher.
Yep.
I think.
There he is.
We didn't see it move. There he is. So Tillman, if you look at that, he comes in a little higher, because what happens with Xavier Tillman's contract is he is going to get paid same as the other guys. He'll get paid his actual minimum amount. But if you use the minimum exception for a 2-year deal, you get tagged with the actual amount. You don't get that reimbursement from the league on that, because that's kind of the payment for the extra year. They tag you with that. So that's why you see Tillman's comes in a little bit higher, cap hit, tax hit will be a little bit higher than that. So let me do one more quick one, because we don't have his details yet. So Neemias Queta re-signed with the Celtics on a 3-year deal. It'll be minimum values is how it will come in. But a minimum exception it can only be at the most for 2 years. So what Boston actually did is they had his non-bird rights. And when you sign a player with non-bird rights, you can give them up to a 4-year deal. And you can give them a slight bump over the minimum. I don't think they did that just because they're so far over the luxury tax. That's like every dollar is very punitive to them at this point that they would add. So I think it's probably going to come in at the minimum for him. But it's not technically a minimum exception deal, because they had to sign him using his non-bird rights to re-sign him that way. So it just gets a little tricky with that, because you'll look at it, you'll see, oh, that's a minimum, And for most purposes, it is. But in this case, it wasn't actually a minimum deal.
Right. Okay. Travis said, please stream this on YouTube Live. Well, I've got good news for you, Travis. We are on YouTube.
Yeah.
We're on YouTube. We're on Twitter as well, or X or whatever, but we're on YouTube right now. Just search NBA Front Office Show and you can watch us there if that's your preferred destination.
Like the video, turn on your notifications. Then guess what? Then you don't even have to look at Twitter. You can just wait for us to go live on
that's right.
Front Office Show. So James Wiseman, let's go back to him.
Yep.
To the Pacers, 2-year minimum deal. Great call up by you. That we know it's likely a minimum because we didn't hear anything different. Maybe there's a chance the Pacers, but by the time it's signed, are like, all right, we're not going to use the rest of the non-taxpayer MLE. We'll give it to him. Who knows, right? Sometimes that's why these things don't come out. But for now, we're going to assume a 2-year minimum. Here's what at least for me, I was going to speak like I'm talking for both of us here. I don't know why. Here's what I like about this. I still believe in James Wiseman. There's talent there. James Wiseman is not a lost cause. Sometimes bigs take longer to figure it out in the NBA. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's year 4, 5, 6 before these guys fully figure out and lock in. So I'm in a spot with James Wiseman where I think he can really benefit from going to Indiana. They helped rehab Jalen Smith's career. Remember, he got there after the Suns declined his rookie scale team option, and it was just like salary dump, get him out of here. And then he turned into a guy who got himself a nice contract for $9 million a year this summer. So I am really excited with for Wiseman to get to the Pacers. He's not going to have to play very much unless he's really ready. They've got Miles Turner, they've got Isaiah Jackson, they've got Siakam can play small ball 5 if they need him to. So it's going to be, hey, run the floor, finish around the rim. Let's try to work on your defense and maybe hit the occasional pick and pop jumper. And I think by the end of this 2-year deal, he may really come back around where it's like, all right, pretty solid. Let's go.
Absolutely. Yeah, this is a chance for him to sort of, another chance, I guess, for him to check things out in a new location. He's got some new scenery here, and we'll see. We'll see what he can do in Indiana. Hopefully, it's rare, but sometimes guys that don't hit initially, they later on, they figure things out, and then they carve out a long, successful career. I know we all think of Chauncey Billups. Obviously, he's more of an outlier when we talk about this, but it can certainly happen where guys are not good initially, and then they wind up finding their way. We talked about this a little bit. I believe it was yesterday. Who knows? It's all blurred together. But Dennis Smith Jr., another guy where the high expectations coming out of the draft didn't quite live up to those. Now he's carving out a career for himself, finding some staying power. Same thing with Chris Dunn. Sometimes you see that happen with these guys. It just takes a little bit of time for some of them to really kind of find their sea legs in the NBA.
Yeah, it's generally the poles of the roster. It's the bigs and it's the point guards. Mm-hmm. Those are the ones that take a little while because they have a lot of responsibility. For the bigs, it's on the defensive end. They're generally the back line of the defense. They have to call out a lot of stuff. A lot of them, especially a guy like Wiseman, barely played at the end of his high school time, then barely played at Memphis. Both places, it was just kind of sit back by the rim because there's no illegal defense and just be huge, especially at the high school level. And he gets thrown in on the Warriors that were a complete mess his first couple of years. It's not surprising. He's not really, it's taking him a little while. Then point guards that's like, hey, here's a fire hose. I'm going to turn it on full blast, drink. Because it's like learn everything you can about how to run a team, run an offense, keep all your vets happy, make sure everybody's doing what they need to do. It just takes those positions sometimes a while to figure it out.
And you run so much in today's NBA, you run so much pick and roll where the point guard or the ball handler's job is once they come around that screen, it's so much decision making. And a lot of it is reading the defense. And okay, the defense sucked over. Now I've got to fire the pass out to the corner, or they didn't. I've got to read it this way. Okay, now the drop-off pass is here to the roller. Oh, no, wait, he popped. Now I'm going to kick the ball back. Like there's so many different, and all this has to be done in a split second. That's difficult. That's difficult, especially when a lot of guys talk about the speed, the pace of the game is already shifting when they're moving into the NBA. Trying to make those reads on the fly, that takes time. It takes time to figure all that out.
Yep. Yeah, that's what if you watch the show long enough, you're gonna hear me talk about a lot of young guys. Like this year, it'll probably be guys like Rob Dillingham and Reed Shepard. If they're not amazing right out of the gate, I'll talk about it with you just got to give them time. It's probably gonna take them a year or two, especially if they're being put in on-ball roles, because that takes a while to figure out. And then on the other end, it'll be guys like Alex Sarr, maybe even Donovan Clingan, Zach Edey. It's probably just going to take them a little bit to figure this stuff out. So yeah, I'm not out on James Wiseman. That was a long conversation, long winding road to get there for James Wiseman talk. But here we are. We have, I think, one more deal maybe that we didn't talk yet. Monte Morris to the Suns.
Yeah. Yep.
Another solid minimum signing. Like they needed a point guard in the worst way, and now they get one. He may not be on there.
Yeah, I don't see him on here.
He'd be way further down. He'd be like a minimum guy.
Right.
So we'll get him in there. But yeah, to the Suns, and here we go. He is they needed somebody to play point guard for them, and now they got him. So I think this is a really good fit for Phoenix. Between Beal and Booker, they're probably going to miss enough time. I bet he probably starts like 40-ish games next year, throughout the course of the year. And then other than otherwise, he'll be a really solid backup point guard. Never turns it over. That's why they call him the assist to what was it? The
assist to turnover king.
Well, they call him the count of Monte Assisto because of assist to turnover ratio.
I like that.
Yeah, I did not make that up. That was I think that came from when he was with the Nuggets. So yeah, I'm excited for him to be here with that. So yeah, I think he will be a really solid addition for Phoenix.
All right, some guys still out there on the market. That LeBron James guy, he's still out there. Gordon Hayward.
Hey, Kyle can I address something real quick?
Sure.
I hope people understand the order this is in. If they don't, it's by their previous average value salary. A bunch of people are like, why do you have Gordon Hayward, the second ranked free agent? But it's not a ranking. This is just strictly by average salary on their last deal.
Yep. That's it.
That's all.
Okay. So we've got DeMar DeRozan, who is being pursued by some teams right now.
Yeah.
Chicago. It sounds like he may be done in Chicago, probably going somewhere else. I wonder if that pushes the Bulls into a rebuild. I mean, we know they're trying to trade Zach LaVine, and this is why when I talk about like why are some of the trades not going down yet, it takes I think some of the commotion from free agency has to settle a little bit. And I think we're starting to get into that, and then the trades will pick up. The teams that weren't able to get certain pieces in free agency will now turn more attention towards the trade market, and that's where you see the Bulls potentially. Maybe there's a sign and trade for DeMar DeRozan. Maybe they do find a trade for Zach LaVine. Stuff like that is going to start coming through, I think, in the next few days here.
Yeah, so free agency goes in waves. This has been a little bit of a weirder free agency because you have the added apron concerns that all the teams are trying to not hard cap themselves. They don't want to lock themselves into a spot where they can't go $1 over. We also have a couple of big trades. So we've got the DeJounte Murray trade, the Mikal Bridges trade, which can't finalize yet. And there may be some tweaks to those. So those might be holding things up. I've had people suggest, hey, maybe those get roped into somehow one big trade where now, there's guys kind of going all over the place. And at first, my gut reaction is that's not going to happen. But then I'm like, well, David Griffin did it before in a trade like that where he turned it was, I think, 3 separate trades into one giant 4-team trade. And it was so maybe, you never know. These guys will really try to put themselves in a place where it makes sense for them to just kind of, this is what's best for all of us. We're all going to end up in the same end place anyway. Well, let's get there. So yeah, I'm excited to come where all that goes to, and how it all comes together here.
Now, Keith, you put out a list on X of how many teams have which teams have what kind of spending power.
Yeah.
There were 5 MLE teams. There was a number of teams that have like a taxpayer. You look at some of these guys, this is the time period where you're going to get, as the money starts to dry up, you're going to get a guy that maybe shouldn't get that should get more than, say, a taxpayer is going to wind up signing for that, or some guy that should get more than a veteran minimum is going to wind up signing for that as the money drives up. And we may be a day or two away from getting quite to that point, but when we're looking at some of these names, like I think people will be surprised that Buddy Hield is still out there. That and I know he didn't have a great run with Philly, but he's a decent sized name, that he's still out there. You look at a guy like Tyus Jones still sitting there. This is where you wonder which of these players wind up getting squeezed maybe a little bit and have to take below market value.
Yeah, absolutely. And just note on Buddy Hield, played great today in the Olympic qualifier for Bahamas. They beat Finland. They had some trouble. Lauri Markkanen-less Finland team really hung in there for most of the game. They were leading in the third quarter, and then Bahamas came back and played really well. Aiton played well. VJ Edgecombe, he's a kid who's going to Baylor as a incoming freshman, one of the top prospects in this incoming draft. Really excited about him. He looked great in that game. So I won't go too deep into the. I was really far. I missed watching like high level basketball. Right. So I was all over the Olympic qualifiers today, all over them, and had a blast. Only thing I want to say, Nick Vucevic, the Bulls are trying to trade him, and he got dominated today by Bruno Caboclo. Mr. 2 years away from being 2 years away himself.
Well, that was like 5 years ago, so maybe he's arrived.
Yeah. That's, by the way, that's what maybe I was doing at 8:30 this morning, was watching Montenegro and Brazil play in the qualifier.
Nice.
Yeah, it was fun. I love it.
Well done.
I love basketball, man. I'm going to watch.
Anybody that you want to highlight here that's still sitting around that you think is noteworthy, or a guy that you think is curiously still on the board here?
I'm pointing to him like you can see it. Tyus Jones, for sure. I think Tyus Jones is a good player. I'm very curious to see. I wrote about, again, in that piece I wrote on Spot Track. If people are interested, I'll link to it in the chat. When I wrote about this today, it was because there's a lot of stuff, and one of the topics was veteran point guards. There's a lot of veteran point guards still out there, and it's spots for them, at least rotation spots, have dried up very, very quickly. So I'm not entirely sure, where that's going to kind of go for those guys. But yeah, I think Tyus Jones is a good one. He's somebody that should not get the minimum. He should be more than a minimum. Obviously, we all want to know what's going to happen with DeRozan. And then Gary Trent Jr., Buddy Hield, interesting players at the two guard spots. So we're really kind of, let's see what that looks like.
This comment, they want to test the waters. Also, Trevor, they don't want to go and splash in. Look, to be honest, right before we started the show, was sitting with my wife and daughter, and we were talking about our vacation, which is coming up in like 3-4 weeks or something like that. So I have like pools and sunshine and all that kind of stuff on the mind. It may have spilled through into my analysis here. What can I say?
When is that? 3 weeks?
Yeah.
Oh, maybe the Lakers will make a move by then.
Yeah, probably not. Probably not.
That was
at this rate.
Shot to me.
At this rate. Oh no. All right, let's you want to get into some of our chat questions here?
Yeah, let's do some of the super chats because they're piling up.
Okay. Senpai said, Operator's Manual, can Golden State trade 1 through 20 of their 2030 first?
Yeah, they can. That pick is protected 21 to 30 to the Wizards from the Jordan Poole deal last year, and Golden State could trade the 1 to 20 portion of it.
Okay. All right. So we'll see if that's a move. We know they're a team that's been linked to Lauri Markkanen. So we'll see if that's something that they ultimately move in search of him. I don't know. I still think Danny Ainge is going to demand a ton for Markkanen, and so I'd be surprised if he actually moves. But it seems like it's more of a real thing than we would have expected maybe a week or two ago.
Yep. Hey, before we go to the next super chat, I'm going to pull this one. Yes, it's on the way. New microphone on the way.
Did you?
Yeah.
What did you get?
I went with another, like the upgraded Yeti.
Oh, okay.
So yeah.
It's a good one. Plug and play.
Yeah, that's it. You know me. I don't if it makes it technical, I'm not going to use it. I'll go back to using the laptop microphone.
There you go. Tyler said, Genie needs to sell the team. Rob needs to be fired. Pathetic on all levels that they might stand pat after promising they'd use the picks in the summer after not doing anything at the trade deadline. Okay.
They promised that? I don't
That was
remember
kind
that.
of what was out there. Was Rob made a comment about like we'll have more flexibility in the summer. We've got 3 picks and
It's
basically kind
not
of hinted
true.
at a big summer. But Keith, I've had a lot of Lakers fans mad at me because I dared to preach patience in this situation. They've taken that to mean that I am defending Rob Pelinka, which very much I'm not. Let me be plain here. If this whole summer goes by and the team is the same as it was last year, minus Taurean Prince, which is the way the roster sits right now, it will be a colossal failure. It will be inexcusable by the Lakers front office. Let me make that clear. What I'm saying, and Keith, you could tell me how you feel here, but the point I've been making is that we're now into day 3 of free agency. It's frustrating when you see your team not doing anything. I fully understand the emotion behind that, and I feel that as well. But before we are going to, and I've been using the analogy, before we're going to Spartan kick Rob Pelinka down into the eternal pit,
That's a funny meme. I'm imagining someone.
Rob, but we need the dust needs to settle. And we need to see what's happened. I look at it like this, Keith. Let's say you're running a race. Let's say you're running the 800, which is 2 laps around the track. For anybody who doesn't know, we've ran the first lap. Okay. We'll call it the.
Make your point.
Okay, we've ran the first lap. There's another lap still to come. Is Rob doing well? No, he's trailing. I've had from coaching track, I've had runners that kick it in the final lap and blow past everybody and win. And that is what they do. I'm not saying for sure that that's what we know Rob is going to do, but let's not just jump onto this, fire him immediately take simply because he hasn't done anything yet. I'm just saying let the dust settle, see what he does and doesn't do, and then evaluate. I think even though it doesn't look good right now and it's frustrating right now, and in the moment, everybody wants to lash out and punch holes in the wall and all that kind of stuff. And again, I get it. I understand it. My walls are, they're a bit damaged themselves. What we can't do is judge just yet without seeing the final result, because we still don't know what that's going to look like.
Yeah. So here's my thoughts on some of this stuff. What the biggest blame right now for Rob Pelinka is, it's not LeBron and AD, because every other GM would have done that. There's nothing there that I get it. Some people should have traded LeBron or just let him go. That's all, that's in my opinion, that's crazy talk. What his mistakes were, you can't keep giving out player options to everybody who wants one, because you're giving the players control. You don't, I don't want to say it in a mean way, but you do not want Jackson Hayes and Cam Reddish and Christian Wood on this roster right now. You'd rather have open roster spots
for sure
and more flexibility. And at the time, I was critical of why are we giving these guys player options when these, especially Hayes and Reddish, who are you bidding against? Now, someone's going to check in and be like, well, they're clutch guys, so that's why they had to do it. Maybe I don't know. Then that to me is a bigger organizational issue that somebody has to figure out at some point, and that's probably not great. But those are the bigger mistakes for me, is those things, because on their face, 1 or 2 of those, whatever. But when you have 5, and then you did it again with Max Christie,
for sure,
you didn't need to. Who are you bidding against for Max Christie? His contract's not bad, and honestly, probably by the time we get there, that player option won't really matter because they'll be in a completely different place. But I that's what I don't understand is some of that stuff.
Yes.
And it goes back
to singles.
It goes back to Rondo and Avery Bradley and those guys getting player options that then at that time also gave them no trade clauses. That it put the Lakers in a bind. And ultimately it didn't end up killing them. But remember how many conversations there was about KCP will block any trade because he doesn't want to leave. That's how it's going to be, and those kind of things. So you're just going to be really, really careful with the way you give out player options on deals. Like I just praised the Magic because the Magic like to have team control on the last year of a deal. That's just being smart from the team side. Now I get it. You can't always get that. Sometimes the agent and the player are gonna really lock in, and they're going to say, no, like we need to, build this out here. So, let's kind of go from there. So that part for me that is like the failure of this. It's not the
Yes.
big stuff. The big stuff they've done well with. It's the small things, but it's like that's like the death by 1,000 cuts stuff that costs you now at this time of year when you're in a place. It's not even D'Lo's player option because that's a super tradable contract.
Yep.
It's the
And they
Reddish
actually got something for giving him that player option.
exactly, and you can't even stack those guys together because you can't stack minimums in the CBA anymore.
Yep.
So you can't even put Wood and Hayes and Reddish together and go get a $8 million player. You can't even do that anymore. So that's just you're in a tough spot, and that's like they got to dig out of it. And I'll tell you, talking to a few people on the player and agent side, the questions that they have is with the Lakers right now, the roster is full. What is going to happen if I was to sign there tomorrow? Not that they'd be worried about their spot necessarily, but I can't go in there with we're going to trade a couple guys, we'll free up minutes or whatever, because you don't know. You can't guarantee that that's going to happen. And I think that's why they're stuck a little bit right now, because they don't have the ability to go get the really big fish just out and sign them, right? Because if they could, they'd probably just go sign DeMar DeRozan for $20 million
Sure.
and call it done. And they can't. They can't do that. They don't have the ability. So now it's, all right, well, we're talking to people, and it's a bunch of people that are like, I don't know. Let me see what else is out there. I'll come back around to you. Because I think they kind of know you're going to have that until LeBron gets tired of waiting and says, all right, I'm signing for the max. Now it's done. Now your best avenues are trades. So that's what frustrates me most is that stuff. People are kind of putting Bronny in here. I don't even care about that. That's one deal. It's a second round pick exception deal. I don't really necessarily care. Yeah, he should probably be on a two-way. I get it, but he's not. That's not what's killing you. What's killing you is the 5 guys that picked up player options, plus landing with Max Christie, I think, earlier than you really kind of needed to. Yep. Again, I like Max Christie. I think the deal is ultimately fine. I just think the process to get to these spots has not been very good.
100%. If you're telling me that's what you're going to criticize Rob Pelinka for, 100%. Absolutely. That is all just criticism, and it's a problem because those singles that you miss on, those add up. And that's what we're starting to see. You called it death by 1,000 cuts. That's exactly what we're starting to see. But I mean, stuff like this, like, oh, Rob has Trevor on his payroll. No, I just don't feel comfortable saying, fire this guy, get rid of him, launch him into the sun when we don't know what the final outcome of all of this is going to be just yet. Is it good so far? No. Am I happy? No, not at all. And as Keith's mentioning, there have been issues for a while now, and that's a problem. That's a real problem that has to be addressed. But if we're going to just land on the conclusion that, that's it, this offseason is over, it's done, I'm not just there yet. And I think a lot of his work, people are saying, oh, well, all the guys are going to be gone by then. I think all the guys are gone. Like, I don't think you're doing, I think it's going to come via trade. Whatever he does, it's going to have to come via trade at this point.
Yep. And it may be a more restrictive trade of can't fit it in quite as easily as you could have if LeBron took less, because LeBron ended up signing the deal and moving on with that. So you just, that may be the way it goes down. I want to just, now I'm fired up. So I'm going to pull one more thing and then we can get back to the actual super chats. Okay, real hoopers. You don't have to watch the show, first of all, if you're going to be an idiot. I honestly, this kind of stuff drives me crazy. So you're saying because I haven't played since I was 12, which is completely wrong, by the way, anyway. I don't know what I'm talking about. I just spent a bunch of time breaking down cap rules that actually matter, which is why we're in these positions with some of these teams in the way they're getting stuck with building out their rosters. So it all does matter. I'm not going to go out there and break down LeBron off the bounce and score on him. It's not going to happen, nor would I ever suggest that would be a thing I could ever do. Now, know what? Neither could you. So take your opinion and shove it where the sun don't shine. If you don't like it, drop off the channel. I'm not going to miss you.
Well said. Well said. I like it.
That crap, man. It's so stupid. Like, I
Well,
hate it so
it's
much.
it's just a wrong way of thinking, because if you follow that ideology down the path, that would mean that if you want to have an opinion about politics, oh, well, you've never been a politician, so you can't have an opinion about politics. If you want to have an opinion about movies, oh, well, have you been in a movie? No. Okay. Then you can't have an opinion about movies. Oh, if you don't actually play professional basketball, then you can't have an opinion about basketball. And look, that trims it down to a very, very, very small group of people that can actually have an opinion on something, and that can bring a perspective on something. And so that's why that kind of argument always falls flat to me.
Yeah, and my thing is, everybody gets so mad at like the studio shows because they're like, these guys don't even know what they're talking about. They're just saying back in my day stuff. Well, who do you want do you want the dudes from the Lifetime Fitness run breaking down your basketball for you? That are like, oh, cool dunk, bro. Like, all right, fine. If that's what you like basketball for, I don't care. Like, it's a great game. This game is for everybody. There is stuff every single person can love about basketball. It's the best game in the world.
Mm-hmm.
Just enjoy it. Let people enjoy it how they enjoy it. So, some people in the chat are like, hey, don't read the chat. I love reading the chat because 99.9% of you guys in here are amazing. And we love the support we get from all you. I just was a little fired up, and I'll breathe and we'll settle back in, boost fraba, and we'll move forward.
All right, let's go on to our next question here. Let's go to this. Oh, well, here Keon says 3 days. GM Rob is still trying. It means one thing: no teams want a D'Lo trade. Hope Rob can make a Rui or DeMar trade. Hope D'Lo trade in February at the deadline. Do you think the teams just are out on D'Angelo Russell, even on an expiring?
No, I don't think so. I mean, it's like probably at this point, I should put this on the next t-shirt is every expiring contract has value, because it really is true. But D'Lo can play. Like, I think what the issue is right now, some people are too stuck on what they saw last from D'Lo, which was not a great playoffs. Maybe D'Lo is not going to be a great playoff player. Maybe that is going to be an issue for him moving forward. But as we say all the time, you have 82 games to go before you get to the playoffs. You need, some guys are 82 game players. I know I'm stealing Draymond's line, but the 82 game guys are important too, as long as you have the right 16 game guys to pick up the slack for them. So I think D'Lo's okay. I think his contract is fine value, even beyond the expiring part of it. I just think right now teams don't need point guards. Like, everybody is pretty well set with either a better point guard than D'Lo or a younger point guard that they'd rather give the minutes to because they're trying to develop them. Like, is D'Lo better than Scoot Henderson? Yeah, right now, sure. Of course he is. Would Portland rather give Scoot Henderson 35 minutes a night than D'Angelo Russell?
Right.
Of course they would. Like, that's just it. Sometimes you get to the spot where it's really, really hard for them to kind of get there.
All right, let's go here. Bradley, who's not too sad about losing Paul George. Bradley is back, but worried about a potential Miles Bridges move. Have you seen those connections, Miles Bridges and the Clippers?
Yeah, what are we doing with the Clippers here? Like, what I get second chances and everything, but you don't need to give all of the second chances to everybody. Like, just kind of weird. Basketball wise, yeah, Miles Bridges would be a huge get for them. They don't have a lot at the four right now. It's kind of Nick Batum and Kawhi sort of playing in the four, Derek Jones Jr. Like, that's a bunch of 3-4s that you cobble together and be fine. Sign and trade for them to get them. That'd be the only way they can get them. They're down to minimums and maybe a little bit of the non-taxpayer MLE. They're already hard capped at the first apron, so they can make a sign and trade that fits. The problem is for them, I think the only reasonable guys they could send out would be Ivica Zubac or Norman Powell.
Yeah.
Unless Bridges is making an absurdly low amount of money. So I don't know. Just weird, little bit of a weird fit. I will say, I saw a lot of Clippers fans react to this extremely negatively because they were like, wait a minute, we already have Kevin Porter Jr.
Yeah.
We're not super. Why are we? Why? Like,
Right.
so I don't know.
And here's another Clippers thing. Russ trade happens. What are we thinking here? I mean, from what we understand, Russ is done. So at some point, he's going to get traded.
Yeah.
From the Clippers, he'll get moved. Assuming that's correct, that he's indeed done with the roster. So at some point, he's going to get moved. It may not be immediately, but at some point, they're gonna move on from him.
Yeah, and his number's low enough, easily moved. It sounds like
4 million.
Denver wants him, maybe. Like Nikola Jokic has openly been like super supportive of Russ and talked about what a fan he is of his. They don't have really a whole lot on their second unit. I get it. By the time we get to playoff time, it might be Russ can give you maybe 10 minutes and then you got to go a different direction. But again, it'll get you through the regular season. Then you do need that. So I bet he ends up in Denver. That's just a guess. But I think if Jokic is like, yeah, I want him, and his salary fits right into the Reggie Jackson trade exception that they're going to make.
All right, let's go here. If the Lakers acquire DeMar, do you think it looks like a 3-team? Brooklyn gets D'Lo and Gabe. Chicago gets a couple of seconds from Brooklyn. Lakers get DeMar and Dorian Finney-Smith.
Geez,
is that enough
here?
Salary going out? I mean, D'Lo's it. I mean, I guess it depends on what DeMar signs for.
Yeah,
that's what would determine that. Would you add JHS and a first or a first to get it done?
Wait, why is Chicago giving the seconds to Brooklyn? Or why is Brooklyn giving the seconds to Chicago?
Seconds via Brooklyn.
They wouldn't do that. Why
D'Lo, Gabe they wouldn't do that.
They're helping facilitate here. They wouldn't do that.
Right. But it could wind up being at the bottom line. Like if you were to do something, Chicago and the Lakers, does Chicago want D'Lo? No, probably not. Does Brooklyn? Maybe. So is there kind of a natural 3-team trade? Maybe that's something that comes up.
Yeah, maybe. I could see there being a match because with D'Lo, Gabe's where it maybe gets a little wonky. Brooklyn looks like they're all in on cap space in 2025. So D'Lo fits because he's an expiring deal. So that would make sense for them. That would be one for them. We talk about this usually closer to the trade deadline. They would be acquiring him more for his contract than they would be for him as the player, at least this time around with a trade with the Lakers for him. But yeah, I don't know. Let me just pull this up. Wayne, Wayne must be following you in here from you're on front office show. I'm here all the time.
That's
literally
pretty good.
Barely ever leave this chair at my desk.
I like that.
Sometimes the camera's just not on.
All right, let's go. Where were we? Tyus to the Clippers. Tyus Jones. I mean, I tend to think he's going to get. There's still got to be money out there for. Like he's not a guy that's going to land on a minimum or something. He's too good for that.
If I was Washington, I would just give him a fair value deal for a couple years. And go.
At worst, preserve the asset.
But yeah, I would. Yeah, just if for no other reason, Tyus Jones is good. Really, really good year last year. Maybe it was a contract year push. I think he'd probably say, "Hey, it was my first real chance to be a true starter," and he delivered. But shot really well and played really well. So yeah, I like Tyus Jones. Again, to the Clippers, would have to be a sign and trade. So you start to get a little messy if we're going that direction because the Clippers are kind of running out of salary to trade back.
All right. Established that any Lakers news, I just want us to make a move. I think trading with the Jazz should be plan A because DeMar's good, but 35. I mean, there's a lot of teams right now that are looking at Jazz players and thinking, could we work out something there? Like you said, maybe it's the Jazz that's kind of holding up the market a little bit right now as teams are trying to negotiate things and try to figure out exactly what's going on in that the mystery of the Jazz front office. So, I mean, there's a lot of teams right now that are looking at Utah, and maybe it takes them making a move to kind of open things up again. Specifically with the Lakers, sure. I mean, they should be calling the Jazz. They should be calling the Blazers, the Nets. There should be a number of teams, and they are that they're talking with.
Yeah, and as far as the DeMar is 35, LeBron's 40. Like,
right,
if he can play, you're not talking about signing him for the next 10 years. Like, probably be at this point. I think DeMar. I wish I remember who who reported it, but it came out that it was like he's like, hey, if I have to do a 1-year deal and then go back into free agency next year, I will. So you're not investing long term money into DeMar DeRozan. Like it'd be a you're probably 1 or 2 year deal and then you go. So I think that's fine. I would be all over it. He was really good last year too. DeMar DeRozan's still good. I have fit questions with the Lakers
for sure,
but I think they could make it work. Probably. It gets a little tough. You just got to have the right shooters on the floor around him, and AD has to probably commit to taking more jumpers. But if he does, then you're like more like 3-point shots, I guess was a better way to phrase that. Then you're probably okay. But yeah, I don't know. Like it'd be fine. He's good. Another good playmaker.
So. All right, let's go. Here, the reason Rob's will lose his job is he's using excuses. Again, if this results a week from now, a week and a half, whatever it is, and it's the same roster, there's no excuses for that, right? So we'll see. But yeah, he is throwing out a lot of stuff about the new CBA is difficult and all that. It is difficult. He's not wrong, but adapt and overcome. That's the NBA. You got to figure it out.
I'm just going to drop this. Yeah, sign and trade does have to be 3 years, but I'm talking if DeRozan took the MLE. Like he could sign a couple places for like 20. Like he could go to Utah for $20 million. He could go to San Antonio for 1 year, $20 million as a free agent. But absolutely right. Yeah, sign and trade has to be for 3 years.
James said Gabe, Rui, D'Lo, and a first-round pick for Levine and DeRozan. Who says no?
The salary cap.
The salary cap. The NBA. Keith, don't listen to those trolls. You're one of the most knowledgeable people in NBA news. There you go.
Thank you. Yeah, it just got to me. I was just mad. I'm over it. It now.
Happens. Yep. It happens. There's some more encouragement.
No, well, I appreciate it.
You're amazing, Keith.
I didn't do it for that reason. I was just mad.
My friend is wondering about Kessler and the Knicks rumors. Every franchise. Oh, shout out to Doggy Schnauzer.
Doggy Schnauzer, let's go. Call me up, Hollywood. I'm ready. The screenplay writing class.
As far as the Kessler rumors with the Knicks, there's a bunch of clubs that are still looking for centers. Every fan base is right now saying, "Go get Walker Kessler," right? Yeah. So, and that's part of what we're talking about with Utah. So, I don't know if I would buy any rumors just yet because we're still trying to figure out what Utah is doing right now.
You see, he's going to play summer league. Kessler is they're like,
no,
yeah,
seriously. Yeah. Oh, that's right. We did have something about that.
Utah has their own summer league. That's like a few days ahead of the Las Vegas one. Maybe it's just, hey, I'm already in town, rather than doing a workout in a informal scrimmage here with the teammates. I'll suit up and play a game or two because I'm already here. But yeah, that came out today that they said that they're gonna have him play summer league. So a little weird. Third year guys don't generally play summer league, but I like. With Kessler, everybody should be all over him. It's funny, the free agent centers, my entire life, like doing stuff and understanding like the salary cap and roster, it's been like, you can get a center. It's fine, no big deal. Until this year, like suddenly, all the good ones are almost all gone. Like there's only a couple left out there that you can get. But now this year, what's flipped is that for a long time, I was like, if you want a point guard, you better get one and get one early. That was like 100 point guards and like 10 good wings and like no centers left. So yeah, the Jazz are in a spot. If they want to move Kessler, they're probably going to get a really nice return for him. Unless teams are like, well, you have to move him because you don't want him anymore. Then maybe that lowers it a little bit, but they're probably going to get a better return than they would have like at almost any point other than right after his rookie season.
The times they are changing. Thanks. Love the content. P.S. Rob sucks. Love the show. Keep it up, guys. Love you, Keith. I say, oh no, Spartan kiss the jerks. I'm assuming that's a typo. Kick. Spartan kick.
Yeah. This is madness.
This is Sparta. Keith,
I love that
I'm
movie.
sure I've told you before about my This Is Madness, This Is Sparta call and response.
No.
I haven't told you about this.
Oh, we
So,
need to hear this.
way back in the day, I had the worst job ever, which was I ran a childcare site. It was between years in teaching during the Great Recession when everything was. I mean, it was like you were just lucky to have a job.
Yep.
The kids were great. The kids were not the problem. It was everything else. But so I ran a childcare site, elementary school kids, right? And we had all these call and response attention getters. So it'd be like we would say dumb, 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 and then all the kids would go dumb, dumb, and then they're supposed to be quiet. We decided, me and one of my coworkers who liked the same kind of movies, that we were going to start to create our own call and response. And so we decided that we were going to shout when the kids were too noisy, "This is madness." And then all the kids had to scream, "This is Sparta." And they're all, kindergarten through 6th grade. It was glorious, Keith. It was amazing.
I love it. That is great. So you remember, right? You were a history teacher. You assign a project. And often some of those projects are like, hey, you're going to cover a famous battle. My go-to was the Battle of Thermopylae. Every time.
Good one.
I was fascinated.
The hot gates.
I was so fascinated by the idea that this small army held off this massive army because of just the terrain and knowing how to use it in their training. And then I was obviously out of school by the time 300 came out. And I saw it like 6 times in the theaters because I was so fired up. Because
that's
like
cool.
Go-to. Yeah, I love that battle. So yeah. There it is, History Corner on the front.
Good times.
Somebody says we skipped their super chat. I think we still have a few more to go through.
Yeah, we've got some that we're still getting to, and then we'll call it. Let's go here. Keith, my friend Paul is a huge Hornets fan, is manifesting a Bridges sign and trade. Everybody's got friends. How many of these friends are imaginary?
Yeah, I don't know.
My friend asking for a friend. Do you think the Hornets can make the playoffs if they get Mann and Powell for Bridges?
Probably not. It would improve them for sure. It's starting to get a little guard heavy there in Charlotte because they have this would be Terrence Mann and Norman Powell, but they have Trey Mann there now. They've got Vasily Micic is still there for at least another year. So yeah, I mean maybe it is the bottom of the East. Like they'd have to have a lot of stuff come together very quickly. Brandon Miller takes a jump. Super high on Brandon Miller. I'm really excited. For him and his future, and we'll go from there. Our loyal viewer Kyle says in the chat, we're all watching Front Office Show on a Tuesday night. We don't have friends. We have spreadsheets. Well, we're all friends here. We're all friends. Even that one guy I yelled at, he's welcome back.
That's right.
If he plays nice. Like
that's right.
Yeah, we just have to do a call and response with him.
All right, let's go. Oh no, Mozgov backup Lakers center. I don't even know where Mozgov is a swear word now. I'm pretty sure. All right, let's.
Retired too.
Yeah. All right, let's go. Do we think Miles Bridges will be a Clipper? I don't know. Like that just kind of popped out of nowhere today.
It is a little weird that nothing's happened after the Hornets made it public that they told Miles Bridges they want to have him stay in Charlotte. My guess is it was, hey, we want you to stay here, but we do not want to give you X amount of money you're asking for.
Right.
So, yeah. Oh, I don't think so.
Dario said, it's funny, a year ago fans were excited for the same team, now different feelings. What a difference a year makes, right?
Yep.
Any interesting Celtics moves left?
No.
Probably not.
I mean, there weren't any to begin with this year. I mean, the draft was held some interest to see what they would do, but their whole goal was re-sign guys and run it back. Like they love the team that they have there. Let me address Tony now, since he's either left or chilled or whatever he did. The Celtics are not operating under a different set of rules than everybody else. What the Celtics did last year is no different than what the Suns and the Bucks did. They just did it better. They did it in a place where they went and acquired the right guys. You had one more year under the old rules where you could load up, you could match salary. They did that in the Porzingis trade. They did it again in the holiday trade, and they hit on the right mix of guys. Finally, after years and years of changing out the pieces around Jason Tatum and Jaylen Brown, they found the right guys. Now what they're doing is re-signing their own players. You can always re-sign your own players if you want to. They were in for it. I don't know. Have you seen it out there, Trevor? The graphic with the 5 guys? The 5 starters. So Tatum, Brown, Holiday, White, and Porzingis. $900 million committed guaranteed salary for those
Sell the
guys.
team.
Yeah, right. And then and the owner's like, see you later. Mario says it'd be good timing, Mario. How many likes for Keith to buy the Celtics? A lot more than are in there right now.
Yes.
Very many more. And if I need to get on Rob Pelinka's payroll like Trevor is and ask for a big raise. So I get it. The Celtics right now, it kind of looks like the Warriors when it was like, why are the Warriors allowed? The one I always go to, why are they allowed to sign Dante DiVincenzo? A couple years before that, why are they allowed to sign DeMarcus Cousins? Because under those rules, they were like you could add guys. Now, if you look at it, look at the players, look at the free agents Boston has signed. First of all, this offseason, they haven't signed any. They've re-signed 3 of their own guys, all the minimum contracts, and then they did the 2 massive extensions. But those are just locking into your own guys. And it's, I mean, one of my favorite phrases is in for a penny, in for a pound. Like they're in for a whole lot of pennies and a whole lot of pounds. Like
yes, indeed.
You're as committed as you can get with this group. So yeah. And somebody said, would you have done anything different? Absolutely not. Nope. Run it back. Run it back. They were good. Were they perfect? No, but they were good. Just run it back.
All right, this one says, as a Lakers fan, you guys have helped keep me sane through the season. Here's your reminder. Deadpool and Wolverine comes out this month. Let's go.
Yes.
That's awesome.
It comes out perfectly in between the end of Summer League and the start of the Olympics.
Yes, sir.
My daughter and I will be there day one.
Harvey said, Sixers have bird rights on KJ Martin. Would they be able to overpay him and sign and trade?
Yeah, this is a kind of fun thing. I recommend everybody goes and reads a article that Gina Mizell put out. She works for one of the Philly outlets, but she did a really good job breaking everything down. Where it was, this is why maybe we shouldn't just assume they're going to waive Paul Reed for cap space because they could turn around and trade him in a trade. And then one of the other pieces that have been coming through is KJ Martin. There's a world where they could overpay him, like they could give him like 20 million because they have his bird rights and then trade him out. Here's the challenge though. In a trade that would trigger base year compensation, which is like a form of the poison pill where it starts to make things very hard to match salaries in trades. It gets very messy with that, but certainly possible. But I wouldn't assume you're going to see any kind of major overpay of KJ Martin in a sign and trade. In a sign and trade, as was called out by somebody, it does have to be a 3-year deal, but it only has to be fully guaranteed for the first year. The last 2 years can be fully non-guaranteed, and you can get out of it. That was like the Keith Bogans back in the day. He got traded in one of those when it was like, I thought Keith Bogans was retiring. He was until it was like, you want $3 million to be part of this trade to make it work? Yes, I would like $3 million. And then the next 2 years were non-guaranteed. He got waived and he was off from there. So yeah, we'll see. What the Sixers do. Daryl Morey's really good at this, so I wouldn't be surprised if there's a couple more, crazy things going on.
All right, Keith, you want to finish with a nice confidence boost here? Someone paid $100 to say Keith is hot.
This person doesn't have enough to do with their money. That must be Rob Pelinka. I am on the payroll now. Thanks, Rob. He's got a Lakers hat on.
There
Pringles
it is.
Guy. Does the Pringles guy have a name?
Isn't it Mike D'Antoni?
It does look like Mike D'Antoni.
Isn't that his name?
True. Yeah, maybe. I don't know. Does he have a name? Somebody in the chat tell us if Pringles guy has. I mean, I am hot. It's hot in our office right now. Look, Tony came back. He turned his caps off. So I'm going to bring Tony on. Thank you for that super chat. That is extremely nice. But thank you. I do appreciate the support. Tony, you turned your caps off. Thanks, buddy. Denver did it. Golden State. I just don't think it's fair. It is fair, though. Everybody's operating under the same rules.
There it is.
And you know what? You won't think it's fair in a few years when the Celtics are like, why are we paying like $600 million for a team that's in the second round because guys have retired and moved on and other things like but it's lock in now. Try to, Trevor, better than anybody else. My roster building philosophy is when you're close, go for it because you don't know when you're going to be close again. You have to do everything you can if you're close to try to win a championship. I operate in the NBA. I'm glad not every team does because the league would suck. But the way I believe is in extremes. If you're close, go for it. If you're not close, tear it down. Now, there's times to be building it back up, obviously. But if you're like the Warriors, we're like 2 years out from saying, tear it down. It's done. Like you had a great run. Those flags will fly forever. People will wear their t-shirts. They'll remember those teams fondly. But when you're out, you're out. Or tear it down, go to the bottom.
That's funny. That was back in my single days. That was also my methodology for dating. Shoot your shot. When you're close, go for it.
We don't need to, man. I'm just gonna say I'm glad I'm not out in that world anymore.
Oh gosh, right?
Oh, speaking of.
All right. So Billy says this. And Billy, I saved this one because we were in the middle of cap stuff and all that. Why are players with domestic abuse charges allowed to play in the league? I can't root for these guys on my team. Look, I fully understand. Cody said, I hope your wife doesn't hear that. How do you think she became my wife? Come on.
Yeah, you guys are funny if you think our families watch this show.
What do you think about the whole like fans not wanting to root? I'm not going to tell a player or a fan who to root for or who not to root for. If there's something that a player's done that they don't like, by all means, don't be a fan of that player.
Sorry, this is not a funny topic, but somebody said Trevor's dating methodology was see how this is Sparta and leave. I'd like to see if your dating methodology is walk in and yell, "This is madness," and if one girl responds, you're like, "You're with me. Let's go."
you are chosen.
Yeah, you're going. All right, that was a very serious question that Billy asked, and it involves a serious answer. I can't counter what he's saying. I agree. Like it's really tough to root for people who are bad guys. I come back to so often in sports, we are rooting for laundry. We're not always rooting for the people inside that laundry. Sometimes it's you root for the team because it's your team, but everybody has their own breaking point.
Yeah.
If you're in a point where you're like, this is too much for me and I'm out, no one should blame you. Be a fan how you want. I don't like people who jump from team to team based on who's good. That's ridiculous. But if you're like, I can't do it anymore, let's just use the Clippers because they're the example of the moment. And without being silly about there's no Clippers fans. But if you're like, I've been a Clippers fan my whole life. I love this team, but I can't do it. I can't do it if they bring in Miles Bridges. It's my own personal belief. I would not fault you for a second if you're like, I'm out. I'm going to a new team. There are a ton of really fun up-and-coming teams. There's a ton of great players. The thing with the NBA, David Stern used to say this, and David Stern was far from being a perfect person. But he used to say all the time, don't let the bad actions of one or two of our players spoil the good that the other 400-plus players in our league do every single day. And that is true. We've been around these guys. The things these guys do in the communities are incredible. And a lot of it you don't see. You don't see it because they don't want it out there. I've been at events in Orlando where the players have said, don't publicize the event, but I don't want to be part of it because it's not about me. This is about what we're doing here. But if you are like, I can't do it, I can't root for Miles Bridges or any team he's on, I'm not going to tell you you're wrong. I get it. Like that's a hard thing to do for some people. And everybody's going to come to this from a very different place where for some people that may be a personal thing where there might be real trauma involved and it may really actually hurt them. And I would never dare to tell anybody they're wrong to feel the way they feel for that because that would never be my place. So I understand. Now, what I would say is I will say I am a big believer in life that most people deserve a second chance on things, and people deserve a second chance to show you they've rebuilt themselves, they become a better person. I don't believe that happens in the span of a year. And I don't believe that happens in the span of a year. And here are hundreds of millions of dollars. I don't, I can't get there with that. But let's see what they do. I will also say with this last kind of thought, because I've been going for a little bit here, is there are times when we let legal process play out. And if the legal process plays out a certain way, we may not like it, but I have to believe that that's the system we chose for a reason, and I
Mm-hmm.
have to believe it's going to work the way it's supposed to work. Because otherwise, that falls all apart. And that's a whole different show that we don't do, and I don't want to go down that path too far because it will get to be a very ugly and passionate and conversation. So I don't. But sometimes we don't like the end result, but sometimes these guys are found not guilty or the charges aren't filed or whatever it may be. I may be not using the exact right legal terms here, but like that is sometimes that happens and it's but if you don't want to be a fan of those people, I get it. I'm not gonna argue, even if you say I love the Clippers, but I'm walking away until they're not on the team. Okay. Just don't quit basketball. Go watch college basketball. Go watch, don't leave
Mm-hmm.
basketball. Basketball's a great game. Stay with the game. Just stay with it in a different way. Put your time and effort somewhere else, and you could come back at some other point.
And if you want to say, you know what, for me personally, I look at it a different way. If you're the type of person that says, well, either, and I'm not speaking specifically about Bridges, if you're saying, hey, it turned out that what we thought happened didn't really happen and it was perceived wrong, or I feel like, what, this person, they accepted whatever the punishment was, and now we're going to move forward, and I'm okay with rooting for that player. Now, again, each individual person is going to make that decision, and that's an okay thing within the sport. You're going to have that diversity of opinion. So just like you're going to have certain teams will say, you know what, we're okay with this. We may get some difficult questions, but we're okay with managing this. Other teams will say, no, we're not going to do it. We're not going there. We don't want to deal with that. So just like we're going to see amongst teams, different opinions on whether or not they want a player on their roster that maybe has some issues in their background, you're going to see that among fans too, and that's okay. I think everybody can have their own way that they're going to approach it, and they can decide to root however it is that they individually want. I don't think there's a uniform like correct answer in situations like these.
No, there isn't, and that's part of what makes all this so hard. There are teams that won't sign Miles Bridges. If all 30 teams were fully in on him, guess what? He'd already be signed today. Like he would have been signed a while ago because Miles Bridges, the basketball player, is really good.
Mhm.
Like he can really play. And you know what's really sad? There were probably teams day one of what was it, 2 years ago, when he had the issues right on the eve of free agency. He had the domestic violence situation that happened with him. There's probably, I hate to say it, but there was probably teams that would have signed him then and would
Yeah.
have just signed him then and said, we're going to sign him and we're going to go because to some extent, like I don't love that it's this way. Morals go as far as are you winning and are you losing in sports? Like that's just kind of how it goes. Like people will pass things off there. So yeah, yeah, it's tough, man. It is. It's these are not easy. I appreciate Billy for asking the super chat because these are conversations we probably should have more because they're hard conversations to have. But it just kind of like it sucks. I don't want to talk about this stuff.
No,
I'd rather break down a complex 3-team trade with sign and trades and everything
that's more
else in
fun.
it and talk about how it's going to look on the court. But we do have to have these conversations too.
Yeah, and as Andrew said, his case was dropped for no evidence. And again, maybe that's enough to where teams will say, okay, let's give this.
Miles was in, I don't think. I think that was Kevin Porter
Was that
Jr.
Porter? Yes, I think you're
Yeah, I
right.
think Miles Bridges, like he not that he like I guess he served time, but I don't know that it got dropped. The other thing too is, I mean, this is just an unfortunate part of life. Sometimes these things don't go places because the victim doesn't want it to go places. I saw somebody make a really good point of, what could be the best thing for this victim is make him pay millions of dollars to you in restitution for what he did. So don't take away his earning power, but make him give you and that child a lot of money for what he did. And I don't know. I don't know if that's I don't know how to feel about that. And I'm not the right person to answer that question.
Yeah.
Because like I don't know, but yeah, it's tough. But yeah, I mean, Billy, you don't feel bad, man. You asked a great question. I saw he just said he feels bad, but that's a great question. It's I mean, it's not, not fun and uplifting to have that conversation, but we should. Kind of is what it is. Like
Sure.
I don't feel bad with this. So somebody asked, why did Jonte Porter get banned? These guys don't. It's no matter what Jonte Porter did is illegal in sports across the board. We see now multiple Major League Baseball players get banned for that. So Kevin Porter Jr. never got kicked out of the league. Sam Presti just waived him. He didn't get kicked out of the league. He got waived, and then nobody signed him. And he went and played in Greece. And now, you know what? Now he's been signed. He comes back. So, yeah. All right. Donnell saying State did drop the charges. But there were two cases. The second one definitely got dropped because nobody really knows what this full story was there. I don't know if the first one did, but I could be wrong on that. I've not fully kept up with it. So, but the reality is this stuff kind of falls under commissioner discretion. And if Adam Silver had said Miles Bridges is out for life, the Players Association would have fought it because that's what the Players Association is for. They're there to fight for their players one way or another. It's just kind of how it works. But yeah.
All right. Well, on that happy note,
we have like one more fun thing to end
there's
on.
got to be something.
There's got to be one more fun super chat. Something stupid. Come on. Somebody ask something dumb so we can end on at least a fun note here.
What's up with trade to LA? Talks just stopped. Why DeJounte Murray got traded away? But that's it.
Man. People are saying this guy got kicked out too. No, the only person who's been banned from the league in like the last 2 decades is Jonte Porter. Like no one else has been banned. Teams just didn't sign the players because it also comes down to too your level of ability. There's a sliding scale. Your level of ability with how much the team's willing to put up with on this stuff. Come on, we gotta.
Let's finish with this. Oh no, not that one. It slid. It moves on me right when I try to click here. Favorite pizza topping. That's a nice and safe, fun topic to finish with. Keith, are you a traditionalist? Do you go with pepperoni or do you go with something else?
I don't. It's funny. I didn't like pepperoni for a very long time. I don't mind it now. If I'm picking a traditional topping, I'm going to pick bacon or sausage.
Oh, I like that. Mine is black olive. And the problem, nobody in my family, my parents, but nobody in my immediate family likes black olive. So pepperoni and black olive is my go-to if I was ever ordering a pizza for myself. But nobody ever likes that. So that's
my wife's a pineapple on pizza person.
I can't do it.
Yeah, it's all right. I'll eat it if it's what we have. But she, what she does that's weird. She's not like ham. It's just straight up pineapple. She'll get just pineapple.
I can get it.
Yeah,
I get it.
I've gotten really into. I like when we do pizza. I like going to a Blaze pizza.
Yeah,
because I like to make my
picking them out.
Yeah, and then I can kind of pick. I like a white sauce some more. As I get older, tomato-based sauces give me heartburn. So because I'm old, so I struggle a little bit with that. So yeah, but
no, I get it.
I know what I can't reconcile with. Have you ever run into your life? I've had 2 people in my life tell me I don't like pizza.
Yes, Lakers Nation staff member Corey Hansford does not like pizza. He doesn't like the tomato sauce, so he does not like pizza. My daughter right now, I think she's a kid, her taste will change, but she's not a pizza kid. I'm like, really? Come on, you'll eat a quesadilla, but you won't eat a pizza.
Man, if pizza didn't exist, it'd probably be good. I'd probably weigh a lot less, but yeah, this guy has it right, man. Being old sucks. It absolutely does. It's just the worst. But it happens to all of us, I guess. If
that's right.
Enough. So
it's the way it goes. Can you give a shout out to my friend?
Sorry, I took the friend convo off. I hit a button.
Here.
Oh, geez.
Go ahead, hit the button. Can you shout out my friends Bradley, Paul, Hauser, and Will? They're real, I promise.
They're all Clippers fans. I think
they're all. If you said their name's Toby and they live in the closet, I'm going to be a little concerned.
Yeah. Do they? Yeah. Yeah, can we see these people? Like, do we know? But didn't one of them checked in right after? It was like my
I
friend.
think so.
Like,
Maybe.
and he gave us the doggy schnauzer. So yes, I don't like guacamole. I tried it again the other day.
Oh,
I
love
hate it.
guac.
It's so
I
gross.
love guac. It's
Ugh.
fantastic. It's one of the things that I like most about the Mexican restaurant that we go to. It's that they have wonderful guacamole.
Like green vomit. Ugh.
It's so good.
No, I can't do it.
So good. You
And I
get the
like
right mix of cilantro in there. Oh, fantastic.
when this has come up before, people have been like, oh yeah, probably because you don't eat vegetables. I love vegetables. I just don't like guacamole. It's the texture is weird to me. Green stuff in my brain should be crunchy. Like it should not be soft in texture. So I don't know, but
let's finish off with this. Trevor, are you going live on Lakers Nation tonight? I'm debating. I'm behind like a ton of super chats that I've got to get to. And
probably all just mad.
Yeah, it's a lot of angry. It's a lot of angry. So I don't know if I'm gonna go live. I'll if I do, it'll be in the next like hour, but I may just record it. Let me see what I'm gonna. Oh, he's saying we need a live. Let Trevor sleep. There is no sleep this time of year. I had a doctor's appointment today, and my blood pressure was like slightly up, not at all, like just a little bit off of normal. Not like in a bad way or anything, but they're like, oh, they read the number and I went, yep, that's this time of year.
Yeah, yep, yeah. I had the same thing. I woke up and somebody like was telling a friend, I was like, yeah, I woke up kind of like stuffy, wasn't feeling so hot, and then they're like, well, yeah, it's probably because you're sleeping like 15 minutes. So
exactly,
yeah,
exactly.
The guy who flipped the two aprons and a hard cap intro, so it's like blowing up again on his notifications. So I wonder if somebody found it. Like, I love when people come back with stuff, especially if it's like a couple days ago shows, because then it's like, oh, you went back and watched. Like I appreciate that when people come in. Guys, I know I went off on that one dude earlier. I really do love y'all. We're up over 33,000 subscribers now, which is incredible.
Yep.
We did have let me use my streamer terms. We had a pretty good like spike. We're up to like 550 likes on this video, so I'm pretty happy with that. That y'all are bringing it. So I really do love y'all. Even I know people are like, how do you do all the Lakers stuff? It's fine. Like I knew who I got in a partnership with many moons ago. I knew what came with that, so it's fine. But we have fun. So yeah. I agree with folks. Trevor, take a break.
I need to. I know I'm sleeping like 4 hours right now. It'll catch up to me. Guys, go check out. We do have our basketball bulletin, Substack and channel. I'm dropping the link. I just put up a new video a few hours ago over on the channel. If you guys wouldn't mind, go check that out and make sure you subscribe over there as well. Some more kind of like opinionated stuff that I'm putting up over there, more short form. So go check that out. All right, everybody. I do appreciate you all. Thanks for coming in. Till next time, we'll see you and stay safe.